The average person will earn over $2 million in their lifetime and retire with almost nothing. The difference between those who build wealth and those who don't has never been about income. 9 boring decisions. That's the gap. Let me walk you through each one. I'm covering 9 frugal living tips that build quiet wealth. No lottery tickets, no side hustle grind, no trust fund required. Just a system that works while you sleep. These 9 tips build on each other, and the last 3 are where the real wealth multiplier kicks in, so stick around for those. Before we get into any of them, though, we need to kill one idea first. It's probably costing you more than any single bad purchase ever could. Most people think wealth requires a massive salary, a lucky break, or some painful level of sacrifice that makes life miserable. I get why. Because that's the story we've all been told. The people who actually build lasting wealth, the ones who retire early or simply stop worrying about money, they didn't do it through any of those things. They made a handful of boring decisions and stuck with them for a long time. No viral crypto trade, no inheritance, no suffering. Just a growing gap between what they earn and what they spend, compounding silently in the background while everyone else upgrades their lifestyle every time they get a raise. Quiet wealth. Wealth that accumulates invisibly. No flashy car in the driveway, no social media flexing, nobody at the office knows it's happening. And every single thing I'm about to share with you is 100% within your control. None of these tips require luck, and none of them add complexity to your life. In fact, most of them remove complexity, remove decisions, remove stress. You're going to hear 9 specific strategies today, built in a specific order. The first 3 are about plugging leaks, stopping money from disappearing for no good reason. The next 3 are about spending strategically, making every dollar work harder. And the last 3 build systems that do the work for you, so you never have to rely on willpower again. Before any of that can work, though, we need to address something. Most people hear the word frugal and immediately picture someone washing Ziploc bags and reusing paper towels, clipping coupons at the kitchen table for 3 hours every Sunday. If that's what frugality meant, I wouldn't be here talking about it. That's just being uncomfortable for very small amounts of money. Real frugality is about decision quality, full stop. One simple question before every purchase. Does this actually make my life better, or am I buying it out of habit, boredom, or someone else's expectation? That's the whole framework. One question. That single shift rewired how I think about spending entirely. You don't need a bigger income. You need a bigger gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is your entire financial future. Your retirement, your freedom, your options all live inside it. Widening it requires spending with intention. I'll be honest, I didn't always understand this. There were years where I made decent money and had absolutely nothing to show for it. Every raise got absorbed, every bonus disappeared. I wasn't buying anything crazy either, just 1,000 small decisions that each felt reasonable in the moment, but added up to nothing in the bank. So when I talk about frugality, I'm talking about awareness, choosing where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. And it starts with something that takes about 10 minutes and might save you $1,000 this year. A number that might bother you. The average American spends somewhere between $200 and $300 a month on subscriptions. When you ask people to estimate that number, they guess around $80. That gap, that $150 to $200 per month, they don't even realize they're spending. That's where money goes to quietly disappear. I did this exercise about 2 years ago. Sat down on a Saturday morning, pulled up 6 months of bank statements, and just searched for recurring charges. What I found was genuinely embarrassing. A meditation app I hadn't opened in 8 months. A streaming service I signed up for to watch one show and then forgot about entirely. A cloud storage plan, backing up files from a laptop I didn't even own anymore. That subscription had been loyally charging my card every month like a dog waiting at the door for an owner who moved away. Subscriptions are designed to be forgotten. The companies know that once you sign up and the charge becomes invisible in your monthly statement, inertia does the rest. You're paying for the effort it would take to cancel and nothing more. So pull up your bank and credit card statements this weekend Every single recurring charge, look at it and ask yourself one thing. Did I consciously use this in the last 30 days? If the answer is no, cancel it today, not next month. Then, once a month, pick one bill you're still paying and call to negotiate it. Internet, insurance, even streaming services. A 10-minute phone call saves people $50 to $100 on average. Most companies have retention departments whose entire job is to give you a discount if you threaten to leave. Why this matters beyond the obvious. Even $100 a month redirected into a basic index fund is worth roughly $122,000 over 25 years. Your forgotten streaming subscriptions have a six-figure opportunity cost. Compound interest just doing what it does. You get to decide which subscriptions actually earn a spot in your life. Everything else is just a recurring charge for something that stopped serving you a long time ago. That handles the money, leaving your account on autopilot. What about the money you're actively choosing to spend at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday? The scene. It's 11 o'clock at night, you're on the couch, and you're doing that thing where you're scrolling your phone with the TV on in the background, not really watching either one. Then an ad appears or you stumble onto a product page. Something in your brain clicks and says, I need this. Last year I found myself at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, absolutely convinced that what my life was missing was a $200 Japanese knife sharpening stone. I don't sharpen knives. I don't even cook that much. In that moment, reading reviews from people who apparently sharpen knives recreationally, I was ready to click buy because my brain had decided this was the missing piece. That's a design problem, by the way. Companies spend billions of dollars engineering these moments. Targeted ads, one-click purchasing, personalized recommendations. The entire system is built to compress the time between wanting something and buying it to as close to zero as possible. You're not weak for falling for it. You're targeted. The 30-day rule is the antidote, and it requires zero willpower, just delay. You see something non-essential that you want, and instead of buying it, you write it down with the date. Put it on a list, a note on your phone, wherever. Then you wait 30 days. If you still want it after 30 days and you can pay cash for it, buy it guilt-free. No shame, no restriction. What actually happens, though, roughly 80% of the items on that list don't survive the 30 days. The desire fades. The urgency that felt so real at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday just evaporates. The want was manufactured, and you can feel it dissolve. The first 2 weeks are annoying. I won't pretend otherwise. You'll feel like you're denying yourself things you genuinely want. Then, something shifts. You stop wanting the thing because the artificial urgency wore off, and the actual desire was never there to begin with. One extra tool that helps. For discretionary spending, try using physical cash. Cards and digital payments remove the pain of spending because you don't feel it leaving. Cash makes spending tangible again. You watch the money physically leave your hand and your brain processes that differently. Most of the time, once you wait, you realize you never actually wanted the thing. Now let's talk about the category where most people leak the most money. It happens 3 times a day. Tell me if this has ever happened to you. You walk into the grocery store for 2 things, chicken and bananas. You don't bring a list because you only need 2 things, and you're a functioning adult who can remember chicken and bananas. 45 minutes later, you walk out with $140 worth of inspiration. Artisanal pesto you're never going to open. A bag of quinoa that's going to sit in your pantry so long it becomes a time capsule. Some cheese you can't pronounce because you like the packaging, and somehow you forgot the bananas. Every single person watching this has done some version of this, and it's because grocery stores are engineered to make you do exactly this. The layout, the end cap displays, the strategic placement of impulse items. You are never going to leave with just chicken and bananas. Now, the math gets interesting. A family of 4 spending $250 a week on groceries, which is pretty normal, can realistically drop to $150 a week through meal planning and batch cooking. That's $100 a week saved, which is $5,200 a year. Invest that at 7% for 15 years, and you're looking at roughly $132,000. Your grocery list is a wealth-building document. Treat it like one. The system has 4 components. Appreciate you sticking around. If you liked what you heard, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment. I'd love to hear your take. And if you know someone who'd enjoy this, share it with them. First, meal plan weekly. Before you go to the store, write down 5 or 6 meals for the week, build them around what's on sale, then make your list from that plan and buy only what's on the list. Second, batch cook on Sundays. Spend 2 to 3 hours cooking staples in bulk: rice, beans, soups, sauces. Portion them out and freeze them. This eliminates cooking decisions for the entire week and actually saves time, not just money. Third, buy bulk staples only for things you'll always use: rice, oats, lentils, canned goods, toilet paper. Never bulk buy perishables on sale just because they're on sale. That's how you end up throwing away $40 worth of produce every week. Fourth, cook from scratch where it counts. A loaf of bread costs about 50 cents to make at home versus $4.50 at the store. Homemade seasoning, mixes, and pancake mixes take 5 minutes and cost a fraction of the packaged version. If you just thought to yourself, I don't have time to cook, stay with me. Batch cooking takes 2 to 3 hours one day a week and eliminates cooking decisions every other day. It removes time from your week. It doesn't add it. A few supporting strategies that add up. Pack lunches when you're running errands instead of eating out. Brew your own coffee. Host potlucks with friends instead of restaurant dinners. None of these are sacrifices. They're just defaults that happen to cost less and often taste better. Those first 3 tips are about plugging leaks, stopping money from leaving for no good reason. The next 3 are different. They're about making sure the money you do spend is working as hard as possible. Spending better, not spending less. This is going to sound counterintuitive, but frugal people spend more on certain things. That's the point. The concept is cost per use. A $20 pan that you replace every year for 10 years costs you $200 and 10 trips to the store. A $90 cast iron skillet that you use daily for 30 years costs you less than a penny per use. The expensive pan is the cheap pan. You just have to zoom out far enough to see it. The key is knowing when to apply this and when not to. If you use something daily, invest in quality: cookware, your mattress, shoes you wear to work, your winter coat, basic tools. These items touch your life every single day, and the cost of replacing cheap versions over and over always exceeds the cost of buying quality once. For everything else, go cheap, go used, or go without. Party supplies, specialty tools you'll use once, seasonal decorations. For anything you'll rarely touch, buy the cheapest version. Better yet, borrow it. Most public libraries now loan out tools and equipment, and neighbors barter all the time. You don't need to own a pressure washer, you need access to one for 4 hours a year. Thrift stores are one of the most underrated wealth-building tools out there. Quality furniture, clothing, and household goods at 50% to 80% off retail. One solid thrift store winter coat beats 5 cheap new ones from a fast fashion outlet. Lasts longer, looks better, costs less per year of use. Before any quality purchase, spend 10 minutes reading reviews. Skip the features and look for durability reports from people who've owned it 3, 5, 10 years. That's the data that matters. This principle gets really interesting when you apply it to your single biggest expense. Housing is where the money is. For most people, it's 30% to 40% of their income, which makes it the single highest leverage category in your entire financial life. Getting this one right can do more for your wealth than every other tip combined. Getting it wrong can undo all of them. The benchmark: your total housing costs, rent or mortgage plus insurance plus property taxes plus maintenance, should stay below 25% of your gross income. Every percentage point above 25% is being directly subtracted from your wealth building capacity. If housing eats 40% of your income, you're living in a financial cage with nice countertops. I need to challenge something your parents might have told you. Buying a home isn't always smarter than renting. If the cost difference between renting and owning in your market can be invested at a higher return than your home appreciates, renting and investing the difference wins. Run the numbers for your specific market, your specific situation. Your parents' advice from 1995 isn't a financial plan. For those who are in a position to do it, house hacking is one of the highest ROI moves in personal finance. Renting out a spare room, a basement apartment, or an accessory dwelling unit can offset 30% to 50% of your housing costs. That's effectively a second income stream from a space you're already paying for. There's also a strong case for smaller housing. Lower square footage means lower utilities, lower property taxes, lower maintenance costs, and less furniture needed to fill it. A smaller home doesn't feel like less when it's paid off. I want to acknowledge something here. I know housing is the tip where geography, family size, and personal circumstances matter the most. If you can't change your housing situation today, every other tip on this list still works. This one is about the next move you make, whenever that is. Housing is your biggest expense, but there's a close second. Unlike your house, this one loses value every single day you own it. Have you ever sat in a car dealership and heard the phrase, "It's only $389 a month"? Like that's a small number? The salesperson says it with a straight face, as if $389 a month isn't basically the rent on an apartment in some cities circa 2004. That monthly payment framing is a trick. It takes a $35,000 purchase and makes it feel like a manageable little number. You're the audience. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value in the first year and about 60% by year 5. That $35,000 car is worth about $14,000 after 5 years. You didn't buy a car? You rented $21,000 worth of new car smell. The frugal wealth strategy for cars is simple. Buy a reliable 3 to 5 year old used car because someone else already paid for the steepest part of the depreciation curve. Pay cash if you can, or take the shortest loan possible, then drive it for 10 years or more. Maintain it religiously. Oil changes, tire rotations, timing belt replacements on schedule. Target 200,000 miles. The cost per year of a well-maintained, paid-off car is a tiny fraction of any monthly payment plan. If your geography and logistics allow it, consider going from 2 cars to 1. Dropping a second vehicle eliminates a second insurance payment, a second registration, a second maintenance schedule, and a second fuel budget. 2 cars is a default. Question the default. The number that should reshape how you think about car payments forever. Take what you'd spend on a $500 monthly car payment and invest it instead. At 7% return over 20 years, that's roughly $260,000. That's early retirement money, funded by a car you didn't buy. If you've made it this far, you're already thinking differently than most people. Those first 6 tips are about what you do with your money. These last 3 are about building a system that does it for you, so you never have to rely on willpower again. This is where it all compounds. A truth about money management that most people don't want to hear. You are the weakest link in your own financial system. Every financial decision you make manually is a decision you might make wrong. You might forget, you might get tired, you might feel emotional and override your own plan. Automation removes the human from the equation. The goal is to build a system once and then let it run. There are 4 layers to this. Layer 1, pay yourself first. Set up an automatic transfer of at least 10% of your income to a savings or investment account scheduled for payday, so the money moves before you ever see it in your checking account. If you never see it, you never miss it. This is the single most important automation you can set up. Layer 2, automate every recurring bill. Put everything on autopay. Rent, utilities, insurance, all of it. Late fees are a tax on disorganization and you're done paying it. This takes about 30 minutes to set up and saves you hours of mental load every month. Layer 3, micro investing. Apps that round up every purchase you make and invest the spare change. The amounts are small, but they compound. And more importantly, they build the habit of investing as a background process in your life rather than a conscious effort. Layer 4, auto escalation. Set your retirement contributions to automatically increase by 1% every 6 months, or whenever you get a raise. You'll never notice the incremental increase, but your 65-year-old self will notice the difference it makes. The philosophy behind all of this: you're designing a system once, and then living your life. Spend 30 minutes per quarter reviewing the system to make sure everything's still working, and otherwise, let it run. No daily budgeting, no weekly decisions. This is the tip that takes the stress out of the equation permanently. One force can break even the best automated system, though. It's subtle, it's gradual, and it disguises itself as success. Let me tell you exactly what it looks like. The most dangerous voice in your financial life, not a salesperson, not an ad. The quiet, reasonable narrator inside your own head that says, "You've earned this." It starts small. You get a raise, and the narrator says, "You know what? You've been sitting on that old couch for 3 years, you deserve a new one." So you buy a new couch. Totally reasonable. The narrator looks around and says, "Well, now the couch doesn't match the living room. Might as well update a few things." So you get a new rug, some throw pillows, a lamp. Then the narrator notices the kitchen. It looks dated next to the new living room. Maybe just update the countertops. And while you're at it, you've been cooking at home a lot. You've earned a few nice dinners out. A few becomes a few a week. Someone suggests a weekend trip because you've been working so hard. 3 months later, the raise is gone. All of it, absorbed into a lifestyle that expanded to match. And the new couch has a stain. Lifestyle creep is the silent wealth destroyer because it never feels like a bad decision. Every individual purchase seems logical. The narrator doesn't tell you to go blow your money. It just narrates a story where every upgrade feels like the logical next step. Same energy as the knife sharpening stone at 11 p.m., except now it's a $3,000 couch at 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and you think you're being rational. The countermeasure is brutally simple. When you get a raise, bank at least 50% of it immediately. Before you adjust a single thing about your lifestyle, redirect half that raise to savings or investments. Live on half the raise. Let the other half build your future. You still get to enjoy the increase, you just don't let it consume the entire thing. Shift what you're tracking. Instead of asking how much did I make this month, ask how much did I keep. Your savings rate is the only number that actually predicts wealth. Someone earning $60,000 who saves 25% will almost certainly retire wealthier than someone earning $150,000 who saves 5%. Income doesn't build wealth. The gap does. Now I need to share the last tip, and I'm not entirely sure why this one works as well as it does. I think it has something to do with identity. I noticed something a few years ago about the people in my life who were actually building wealth versus the ones who were always broke. The difference wasn't discipline or intelligence. It was who they ate lunch with. That sounds ridiculous, but let me explain. Your spending habits mirror the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your friend group's default hangout is a $60 dinner every weekend, your baseline spending adjusts to match. If your friend group's default is a potluck and a board game, your baseline adjusts to that instead. We absorb financial norms from the people around us without realizing it, constantly and quietly. I'm not saying ditch your friends. I am saying be intentional about which environments you spend time in. Seek out communities where financial discipline is normal, online forums, local meetups, even just 1 or 2 friends who think about money the way you want to think about money. Suggest the potluck instead of the restaurant or propose the hike instead of the bar tab. You'll be surprised how many people feel relieved when someone else takes the pressure off spending. That moment when someone says, "Honestly, I'd rather just hang out at your place," and everyone exhales because they all felt the same way, but nobody wanted to say it first. Accountability matters too. Share your financial goals with one trusted person, a partner, a friend, someone who'll check in without judging. Wealth building is lonely when nobody around you is doing it. Finding even one person on the same path changes the entire experience. Frugality in isolation feels like deprivation, but frugality in community feels like a shared strategy. So those are the 9, and if you've been keeping count, each one works on its own, and I don't want to downplay that. Cancel some subscriptions and you save money. Use the 30-day rule and you spend less impulsively. Independently valuable, obvious results. What's less obvious is what happens when you stack them. These 9 tips create something together that none of them creates alone, a self-reinforcing system. Your subscriptions get cleaned up, which frees up cash. That cash gets automated into investments, which grow without your attention. Your housing costs are optimized, so more goes to that gap between earning and spending. Your food strategy eliminates daily decisions and daily leaks. Your quality purchases last longer, so replacement costs drop year after year. Your car costs a fraction of what the average person pays. Your community reinforces all of it, and lifestyle creep never gets a foothold because you banked the raise before the narrator could start talking. Each tip amplifies the others. That's the compound effect, and it's why quiet wealth accelerates over time instead of requiring more effort. 5 years from now, the person who implements even 4 or 5 of these tips will be in a fundamentally different financial position than the person who implements 0. The system, once it's running, does the work for you. I want to leave you with one request. Don't try to do all 9 of these tomorrow. That's the fast track to burnout and quitting. Pick one. If I had to choose the highest impact starting point, I'd say automate. Set up one automatic transfer to savings before your next paycheck arrives, even if it's $50, even if it feels laughably small. Because once the system is running, you'll build the next piece, and the next, and the next. That's how quiet wealth works. Nobody notices, nothing is dramatic. One day you just look at your accounts and realize the gap between where you are and where you want to be got a lot smaller while you were living your life. The money was always there. You just needed a system to keep it. One question I'd genuinely love to hear your answer to: which of these 9 tips are you starting with and why? Drop it in the comments. And if there's a tip you think I missed, tell me that too, because I might be wrong about the order, or there might be a 10th tip that deserves to be on this list.